Guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm hopping back on the Aprilia RS660 rebuild. This used to be a complete motorcycle. And as you can see, it is now completely taken apart. Everything is separated, including the engine. So in the first video, we completely took the bike apart, as you guys obviously know. The original frame is here, wiring harness, a whole bunch of parts over here, and more parts over there. We picked up a new replacement frame, painted it, have the chassis now mounted on the engine, same with the swinging arm, brand new rear sets, new wiring harness, and we're not stopping there. We completely assembled the swinging arm, serviced the brakes, have that all reinstalled, cleaned out the tires because they were really nasty. Looks a lot better now if you ask me, but we're still far from done. I am still currently waiting for the subframe so I can completely put the rear end back together. I am also still waiting for the front end, forks, wheel. All of that has to come from Aprilia because there's parts I had to find and people were asking way too much for used and damaged Aprilia parts. It makes absolutely no sense why sellers are asking more for used parts than what they actually retail for brand new. So this build is gonna take a while, and that's mostly because I have to source parts for every single thing, because as you guys know, it was all damaged. But I've received a couple boxes of parts, so I'm not gonna waste any time. Let's get unboxing and installing parts on this motorcycle. Early in the build series, I showed you guys that we received a replacement fan and this oil cooler housing. It's now time to install this housing. But before I can do that, I have to go ahead and extract the damaged filter. Same for the cooler housing. Do some light cleaning in this area, and then install the new one. So that probably was 5 seconds for you guys, but it took a minute to get that oil filter out. That thing was badly stuck in here. Now I'm ready to install the new housing. I'm going to lightly coat the O-ring with some new engine oil. That way I know for sure it seals against the block and there is no leaks. Because we do not want that, obviously. I'm going to add some new thread locker to this bolt that goes into the block. Alright, so this oil filter retaining bolt is now fully torqued. We just have to bend this tab so it doesn't back out. Okay, and that's good over there. So with that business all done, I have a brand new oil filter that's gonna go in. I'm gonna go ahead and add some oil for good measures. With the oil cooler housing, oil filter fully installed now, we can now connect one hose that goes right to the block over here. I placed this cap when I disconnected because I didn't want anything going in there. So I'm going to quickly remove the cap, connect the hose. This other hose actually goes to the radiator. So now that's all done. We're gonna go back up front. At this point, the next thing that should be going up in here would be the exhaust, because we have to put the exhaust before we put the rad in and the fan and all that fancy stuff. And obviously you guys know that our exhaust is in no good condition to go back on this motorcycle. It's damaged without a doubt in multiple locations. There's a dent over here, dent over here. We got a hole over here, more dent over here. It's in no good condition to go on the bike. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like I said, I was aiming for this to be a budget build, but I'm not going to cut corners and spend all this time, spend all this money building the bike that's not going to stand out, or I'm not going to enjoy it. So again, I've decided to go and get something that's not only going to improve the look of this bike, it's also going to improve the sound and hopefully the performance. So this piece of metal is not going back on the motorcycle. as you can see, guys, I've gone ahead and picked up a full exhaust system. I can't wait to hear what this is going to sound like. It's going to be funny because we've never heard what the bike sound like with a stock exhaust, and by the way, we have a full aftermarket exhaust. So I hope it sounds as good as I think it's gonna. Let's toss it on the bike. So over on the front of the engine, as you can see, everything was welded up really good. Even went more in just so there is enough material to actually stick the weld to, and it's a solid repair. So this is what it looks like over here, and over here lots more really good welds. So it's not going to affect the exhaust mounting in any way. It's going to be really secured, and I'm super happy he was able to get this welded all back in place. And the same goes for the rear one too. As you can see, the bolt is back in. I did not clean up any of this because, like I said, I did not want to take any material off of it, but it looks really good and it's going to be solid. Exhaust gaskets. With the gaskets. Well guys, it was time to retire the motorcycle lift because I couldn't get the exhaust to clear with this in place. So I had to use lower 333 from a ZS6R, I believe, that I've done in the past. And the 333 stand, obviously this is not permanent. This is just to be able to use this apparatus to keep the motorcycle elevated. So now I'm gonna put this away. We're gonna do some cleanup because, well, nothing has moved in a minute over here. And then we're gonna continue the exhaust install. Added some pipe sealant over here. Okay, and now the hardware goes in. Washer and nut on the other side. Now I'm currently doing a longer weighted oil change. Here's a drain plug. Not a lot of metallic substance on it, so that's really good. But the most concerning thing is that we have almost no oil in this engine. Guys, we have received a lot of packages. This is the first one we're going to be opening up today because it has a lot of components that we're going to need to put this bike back together. And don't worry, it's not a Yamaha part. So as you guys know, all of these components that originally came on this motorcycle was damaged. We have the complete airbox assembly, we have the lower radiator mount, we have the lower fork shield that's mounted right underneath the lower 333. We have the battery cover or protector, whatever that is, the new ECU brackets, the stacks, and all the hardware to put this together. And here are those parts. This is the lower battery, this is the battery box over here, cracked, the airbox damaged. All of this is no good stuff. The first thing we're going to work with right now is this radiator bracket. This is the original rad mount over here that's damaged. It also secures the brake lines. And there it is. And the replacement one is going to go back in now. But first I'm going to secure the brake lines. Another thing that's really impressive about the RS660 is that it has steel braided lines from the factory. Not a lot of 600cc's have that. So we're gonna go ahead and get this situated now. So with the radiator bracket now fully secured, I'm gonna go ahead and unbox the brand new radiator I picked up for this bike. So I'm gonna move this onto the Z extender over here. And then in here, we have our new replacement rad. And there we have it, new radiator. It definitely looks a lot better than what came off the bike. New rad, old rad, not good. So I need the hardware off the fan so I can mount the new fan over on the new rad. Damaged fan is off, no good. Completely broken. So I have the new fan over here. So with the radiator now fully assembled, we're now ready to go over here, remove the plugs I've put in place. This is a connector for the fan assembly over here. Mock up the rad and start connecting all of these hoses and connector. I'm gonna loosely fit it on so I can make the required connections behind the radiator. One hardware over there and the second over there. So I'm gonna connect the fan over here, like so. I'm gonna secure it with a zip tie, just like OEM. Next part that's going on the 660 is the horn assembly. I have a replacement one over here and the original, well, you can see for yourself. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss this on now. So this horn assembly simply goes between the rad and the engine block over here, and it acts as a secondary bracket for the rad too, so really good design. Well guys, I've done some cable management over on the left side of the motorcycle. I've loosely fitted the rectifier because this actually mounts on an inner trim or shroud, and that was obviously damaged. So I just have it sitting over here, connected the wire for the kickstand that runs all the way up over here, cleaned up all the wiring as required. I'm still waiting for my subframe, unfortunately, so I can't really do anything back here, which really sucks because I would like to put this rear end together and then start to visualize what this motorcycle should actually look like. I believe I pointed this out already before, but rad is fully secured, rad fan connected, horn is connected on the other side too. The O2 sensors are connected, all the wires are secured in there, nice and clean. Everything is away from the headers, so that's really good. And up top over here, ignition wiring is connected, even though this is still damaged. I'm still trying to figure that bit out. Ignition coils are connected for now. This is the rad fan connector up in here. As you can see, everything is zip tied, secured away. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning up the cylinders or the valves. I've also connected all the wiring in here, so that's all good to go. ABS pump is fully secured, that's not going anywhere. I'm gonna hurry and purchase some carb clean. I'm gonna clean inside of the valves as much as possible. Earlier in the video, I showed you guys what it looked like on cylinder number 1 compared to cylinder number 2. That looks a lot better. So while I have all of this open, it only makes sense to try and clean this as good as possible. Nothing interesting, so I'm gonna quickly get to this and then cut you guys back in. Well guys, after multiple cleaning, this is what it looks like now. I think it looks a lot better than when we first removed the airbox of this motorcycle. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better, and I'm happy with that. I spent about half an hour doing this, and I'm very happy with the result. I had to come up with different ways to get this cleaned, like hooking up an additional tube to my vacuum cleaner. And then I also had to zip tie some red Scotch Brite to an Allen key just to agitate the cleaning solution I had put in there. And I think it worked out really good, so very happy with that. Now, we're ready to go ahead and install a new airbox assembly. I'm going to install the throttle assembly. It's always good to have some lubricant on the seals so it just goes in easy and it doesn't kink it in any way. So I'm going to add some lubrication real quickly. And we can go ahead and get this installed. So, throttle body is installed-ish. These clamps are a pain. I don't know why Aprilia chose to go this way instead of using the regular clamps, but we'll move on for now. All of this is situated. As you can see, I have the stock emission system back in there. The reason why I have that in there is because I want to be able to run this bike stock, make sure that there's nothing that would cause an issue before I go ahead and delete all of that stuff. So it's only temporary, don't worry about that. Now at this point, I need to still figure out how to get this clamp on, and then I can install the lower airbox, air filter, connect the necessary sensors that goes on the airbox, and then hopefully move on to something else. Well guys, one final look in here. Hopefully we don't have to open this for any engine issues or any concerning things along those lines. But everything is fully secured, throttle body is on, all the connections are made down in here. I've obviously secured everything with as much zip ties as possible so nothing is rubbing, nothing is shaking. Same over here, all connections are made, everything is nice and clean. The only thing I have to do at this point is reinstall the lower section of the airbox. The top section of the airbox, also install the ECU brackets and the ECU. And hopefully it should be done in here. I am waiting for critical components, which is my subframe. And I'm hoping I get that any moment from now because it is out for delivery and I can't wait to get it in because that would really help in putting this section back together. And over here is the lower section of the airbox. One bolt over there to secure it in place. I could not find that bracket, so I did a good old fixing with some zip ties. Really secured, not concerned about it. This tab over here also secures to that other piece. Let's get this installed. We have a rubber grommet up front, and that's the piece over here. It's going to be tricky getting it there. Okay, and now that's in. The air filter goes in. For now, the stock filter is going in. I have another one coming in, but it's not just here just yet. And of course, we have the top piece. And this slip just sticks out on the lower portion of the airbox to secure this wiring harness. Just like that. So now at this time, it's time to install the ECU brackets. I believe I've routed all these hoses to the best of my knowledge. Because if you guys remember, everything was dispersed up front here. The airbox was all pushed over. All of these lines were all pushed. I have these two lower hoses going to the airbox that's connected. This is obviously the fuel line that goes to the fuel tank. And then these are the two breather lines. There's one over here and one over here. These both go underneath the fuel tank right about here. So now I'm going to go ahead and install the ECU bracket like I just said. The bolts right up over here. And then these hoses clip onto it over here. Right here. And then the two bottom ones go to the bottom hose over there. Let's get that done. And ECU goes back in. And we have two connectors for the ECU that needs to be connected. This is one over here. And second one over here. Beautiful. Wow, guys, massive progress. We have completely resecured everything up over here. The only thing we have to worry about is the rear end and the front end. Everything in the middle right now is a-okay, and I'm super happy about that. This was a ton of work. I'm just happy and thankful that everything is going smoothly. No hiccups so far. I hope that when we do figure out the front end, I have found a dash all the way in the United Kingdom, and that was very difficult. I think that's the most difficult part for me to track down yet, because this bike obviously have an immobilizer, and by working on the Triumph, if you guys remember, those are no jokes. You can have everything put together and it's still not going to work until you have everything coded properly. My goal was to find a dash that came with the ignition system and the keys, because unlike the Triumph, that's not tied to the ECU. All you need is a dash, the ignition and the keys, and you're golden. I was lucky and I was able to find one. I have ordered it. I'm waiting for it to come in now. And when it comes in, I'm going to throw it in as soon as possible so I can see exactly what I've purchased, because we still don't know if we have a good working engine. I'm pretty positive, because I did all my due diligence. I'm pretty positive we have a good engine, but there's only one way to find out. This is the part that I was waiting for actually. It's the stator cover plug. I'm going to bring you guys over to the bike so you see what that looks like and why I purchased this replacement one. Over on the bike, as you can see, completely grounded up. This is what it should look like over here, and this is what that looks like. So I'm lucky I was able to find this used on eBay. Can't go wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this one now and install the replacement one. This piece from Aprilia was back ordered with no ETA. So Very happy I got this. Look at all that dirt in there. Do some nice quick cleaning. I've looped the O-ring. Now this is ready to go back in place. Beautiful, like it never happened. This is a part that I've been waiting for a minute, and this is coming from all the way from Aprilia. So what I have here is our front ram air intake or fairing stay, whatever you want to call it. This took a while to come in because I had to order this directly from Aprilia, like I just said. There was lots of used ones available, but they wanted almost double the asking price of the brand new one. So I decided to bite the bullet, purchase a new one, and just wait. And here we go. We have another package that's coming all the way from Ukraine. Again, these parts for this Aprilia are just coming from all over. Literally, we have parts coming in from the States, from Canada, from Ukraine, and all the way from London. So this took a minute, but we finally have it unboxed. And this is our new to us replacement subframe. And I gotta tell you, the parts for this bike, I'm sure I said it already, are impossible to find, but I was able to find one in really good condition. Super wicked deal on this too. I'm just happy about it. So there it is in all its glory, perfectly okay, no damage. The damaged one is right over here. I'm going to show it to you guys. Well, there it is. It's not level whatsoever. And there's a side by side. The middle bracket is also obviously broken off, but this was also twisted. I remember pointing it out earlier in the video. That's why we got a replacement one over here. So let's go ahead and install this bad boy on the motorcycle. So before we can install the new subframes, the battery on the tray has to go on. And if I remember correctly, it should just slide in like so. Yeah. Perfect. Looking good. Now it's ready to go on the bike. Now it's time for the subframe to go in. We're gonna put all of this on here. Just like that. Beauty. So we have the subframe loosely fitted on now, looking really good. Now the first thing we're going to install is the main fuse or the starter relay. That goes right onto the side. There are two tabs over here for it to clip into. And then we need to hook up the negative terminal. That's it over there. Well guys, it's a new day and I'm hopping a little bit all over the place. We just loosely fitted the rear subframe yesterday. I want to hop on the front end because I want to have that front fairing stay all figured out. So here are the two brand new front units. This is one, they both mount together. This is one that came with the frame that has the VIN on it. So I'm going to need to drill out this plate so I can rivet it to the new piece over here before I can assemble this and toss it on the bike. So let's get that going first. Okay, plate is all drilled out. So over here I have rivets. I'm gonna find the right size and then we shall have this new plate secured in no time. And one more over here. Okay, that's good. So over here is the old VIN plate from the damaged frame. As you can see, there's a sensor that goes right in here that has to be mounted right over here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the zip tie. And then I can move that sensor to the replacement unit just like that. And then of course we're going to secure it with the zip tie, same as OEM. Just like that. So now I'm back on the bike. The way this mounts, it's two-piece like I pointed out, and the harness actually goes through the intake, and there are two specified locations where it should be mounted in, and then the wires are routed up to the headlight and out this way and this way for both handlebars. So very interesting design. Obviously when I picked up this bike, all of this was destroyed, so I really don't know the exact proper routing. So I'm going to do this to the best of my knowledge. Over here I have my bracket kits that I'm going to be using to mount the harness inside of the intake over here. So this is what it currently looks like. Wire is ran, zip tied over here, zip tied over here. This is how I believe it's mounted, just by looking at the damaged parts that I received with the bike, and we still have a lot of connectors that it's not accounted for. So I'm thinking I'm going to loosely fit the handlebars on with the switches. I'm just going to have it leaning to the side of the motorcycle so I can make all these connections and see what else is still missing. Maybe there's a module that goes up here that I need to purchase. I have no idea. So let's start fitting those handlebars on. And here they are. This is clearly the right side, left side. So I'm going to need to figure out how to have this loosely fitted on the motorcycle while I do this. So it looks like this actually runs inside of this fairing support over here too. Very interesting design. So we have one over there, and over on the right side we're going to do the same thing. Just put this on here so we can make the necessary connections and then start figuring out. So one connected over there, and the final one. This connector is broken, so I'm going to secure it with as much tape as possible so it's watertight. So here's the other half. Wire needs to go right through the top like so. This bad boy goes right over here. Well guys, we now have everything secured up in here. So far it's looking good. There's only a few connectors that's not accounted for. This, I know it's going to go to the dash, left and right turn signals. I'm not sure what this one is, and this down here has to be the headlight. So there's only one connector that I'm not 100% sure what that's for, but we're going to figure that out. Like I pointed out before, harnesses goes through the side. Same over here. This is not a true ram air intake, because on the ZS6 styles or ZX10 styles, this is completely hollow. You have as much airflow going to the engine as possible. But as you can see, these nose dives over here, and there's only a really small outlet to feed air into the engine. So very, very interesting design for sure. I haven't seen that, but it looks like there's something else that should be going over here. So I'm going to need to visit the parts diagram to figure that one out. But it's looking really, really good. I cannot wait for the dash to come in. We have to hop back on the subframe in the rear and completely assemble that. I got a bit excited when I put the subframe on, so I did not clean the battery tray or the undertail. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly clean this out, and we can start assembling all of this. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. All nice and clean. So with all of this cleaned, it's time to figure out the proper positioning for all of this. And I'm not really looking forward to it because it's a rat nest, to say the least. But guys, there you go. Everything is fully secured. I have the battery now in here, fuse boxes. This goes to the tail light, obviously. Wow, that was a mission. There's a lot of stuff going on back here, guys. The subframe is still loose. The undertail fully secured. So now I'm gonna go ahead and secure all the subframe bolts to the main chassis, torque down to spec, and then we're gonna throw something in the rear end over here to clean it up. It's a new day and it's like Christmas because I've received a ton of parts for the Aprilia and the ZX10 now. We're gonna hop on the ZX10 now first, and then I'm gonna box a couple parts I've received for the Aprilia. Well, without wasting any time, I decided to get a new seat for the ZX10 now because, well, obviously it doesn't have enough parts on it, and I do have a different aftermarket seat on it, but I decided to try something else with some gel in it because this is pretty stiff, and I don't ride enough to have enough time to break this one in, and this right out of the box is nice and soft. So let's quickly pop the tail off and toss this on. You know, I have to say, getting new parts is one of the best parts about working on anything, cars, bikes, whatever. Paying for them, not so fun, but receiving it is really good. And the new seat is gonna go on. It already feels so much better. Tail goes back in. So the bike is obviously looking good. The next part I'm gonna throw on is the radiator guard to protect the brand new rad I just installed on the motorcycle. Very simple install. I have the piece over here. Let's get it on the bike. Okay, so we have a top piece and the lower piece. So it looks like this just slides in here, and we should have hardware to screw it in, but we have no hardware, just this rubber grommet looking thing. So I'm gonna look for some hardware, toss it in, so I can install this on the motorcycle. That's good. And just like that, the radiator guard is fully installed. That's looking good. And we're back up here with a few more parts to install. Unfortunately, we do not have our front end assembled, so we cannot install the new handlebars or the new grips, which really sucks, but I'm working really hard to find the parts for the front end, and I'm hoping I'm gonna find one sooner rather than later. Right here, I have the next package that's gonna go on the Aprilia RS660. And this was a big ticket item, and it came all the way from the United Kingdom. This was a tough find. I think I mentioned it earlier in one of the videos, but I'm super happy that this is here. Let's go ahead and open it up. Now, what I have here is gold, literally gold in itself. And oh, look at that. Look at that. I'm sure you guys know exactly what it is. It's our replacement dash for the Aprilia. This was difficult to find because I needed one that came with this piece right there. For those of you that have been following the channel for a while, probably remember what I had to go through rebuilding the Triumph Street 77765. It was a pain because that bike, just like this one, has an immobilizer system, and those systems cannot be bypassed. Trust me, I did a ton of work, a ton of research, trying to figure out how to get the Triumph started. That was no go. Luckily with this kit, if my research according to what I found out is accurate, I should be able to start the motorcycle. I do not need an ECU, so this should just be literally plug and play. I should hook this up and it should start up. But that's not always the case. I'm not going to waste any time. I need to get some isolators, spacers, and bolts for this. I have lots of those handy. Install it and then get this on the bike. This kit also comes with one key, this immobilized system, and the actual Aprilia key code. So when this dash powers up, it might not calibrate itself. There is a key code in here that needs to be entered for this to be fully functional. This is an excellent find. All right, so over here are the rubber isolators, spacers, and the hardware. Let's get this mounted. All right, so before I go over to the bike, I'm just gonna loosely fit everything on here. That's everything on. On the bike, we're gonna make the connection first. Beauty. Then this should just slot in there like so, and we're gonna get down in there and tighten the dash hardware. Well, this is a very interesting way to mount the dash, but it is mounted, and boy oh boy, I am so excited. It is getting there. It is slowly starting to look like a motorcycle. We had a lot of missing parts on this bike, so to see this, to see all of this, it's progress, guys. It is progress. But now that I have the new dash on, I'm super excited. I want to see how it powers on. I'm gonna go ahead and connect the left battery terminal. Hopefully nothing crazy happens, because it's gonna be the first time since putting the entire motorcycle together that it's gonna get any kind of power. Nothing crazy. Dash is flashing, so that's good. Okay, battery is fully secured. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this damaged immobilizer system and install this one. Should be pretty straightforward. One cable to disconnect. Connect this one back in here. And this cable literally comes around. It's just zip tied over here, so I'm gonna cut this off. Route this one back where this one comes from. At this point, I haven't quite figured out the situation with this ignition system yet. I'm currently trying to just get a replacement one that's going to be a direct fit over here. Since I have this immobilized system, I don't really need it keyed anymore because I have a replacement key, which is right over here. So this is paired to this immobilizer system, and I can have whatever ignition I want over here as long as this is somewhere with the bike, if that makes any sense. But now if I go ahead and place the key right next to that immobilized system, twist ignition. Oh, look at that. Look at that. The dash powers up like it's supposed to, guys. This is excellent. Okay, we have that code right away. That message that says insert code. So let's quickly get that done. So now that I know the proper code, it should just be Yeah, as you can see, it's changing. So we have an immobilizer fault. That's not good. Immobilizer right there. Let's go do some figuring out right now. Well guys, that took a minute, but I've currently figured it out. And watch this. There's no fuel tank. Everything is hooked up over here. There's no coolant, but listen to this. The starter relay works. And it cranks over. That is just excellent. One more time. That sounds really healthy. That sounds really healthy. And guys, don't worry, it's not going to start obviously because there's no gas tank. We still have that damage to the fuel connector over here. We have no coolant, right? We have no fuel, but by doing this, we're getting the brand new oil everywhere it needs to be, because this has been sitting for a while and it was drained. So cranking it a few times is not going to harm anything. Obviously the bike is not running. I'm still waiting for a fuel tank. I'm hoping I get one soon. I have one that I'm currently in talks with the seller. I'm hoping I can get that for a good price. The fuel connector is still another concern because Aprilia does not seem to sell just that connector piece. You got to buy a whole new fuel pump. And I'm not looking to do that because we're trying to get this bike back together as cheap as possible. I'm going to go ahead and install the clutch cable. Don't worry, we're gonna loop this up when it's fully set up. Well, before I let you guys go, there's one final part I would like to throw on the Aprilia RS660. If you watch my videos long enough, you would know what I'm gonna be throwing on this bike. I cannot build a bike without tossing it out because I know how important it is to have one of this on your motorcycle. And if you guessed, well, you guessed right, the GB Racing engine covers. So I'm gonna quickly open this up and install it on the motorcycle. Well guys, that's a wrap for this video. A lot of work has been done on this motorcycle to get it just closer to being roadworthy or to even start up. I hope I get everything in I need to use to get this motorcycle started. So it's going to be our first start of this motorcycle. But fingers crossed that all goes okay. But that's all for now. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.